Thank you for joining me today. A little about me. I am an oncology nurse practitioner and I transformed my life by losing 80 pounds after working with my amazing coach. I improved my kidney function and lowered my hemoglobin A1C, and I'm now on a mission to help others achieve their health goals and feel as amazing as I do. My aha moment came in September of 2018. I was at an oncology nursing lecture, and one of the speakers, Ann Katz, was speaking about obesity and cancer. I was sitting in that audience, and I felt ashamed that I had let myself go and that I had gotten up to 236 pounds. But I also felt hopeful that I could change. She really emphasized that obesity was a modifiable risk factor, and I knew that I wanted to lower my risk for disease. So these are my before and after pictures. When I was heavier, I was happy and I had a rich and full life, but I worried that my life would be shortened, and I have a young son and I wanted to be around to see him grow up. And I wanted to have the energy to keep up with him and be as healthy as I could be. Also, my parents both passed away from forms of dementia, and in my reading, I've discovered that obesity and inflammation can impact the brain and cause some disease. So I wanted to do the best I could for myself to optimize my health and lower my risk factors for developing dementia down the road in my 80s. So by optimizing wellness, we create improved health, lower cancer risk, improve our confidence, our body image, have better self-care, and take control over our diet and lifestyle. My questions are, is it impossible for you to improve your health on your own? Do you feel like you already know what to do, but you aren't doing it? Are you overwhelmed with the amount of information available and confused about where to start? Do you lack the motivation to get started on your health journey? Does self-sabotage keep you from achieving your dreams? What if support was available to you along the way? The Winning at Wellness method is a 3-step process where we explore, then evolve, and empower. By exploring, we dive deep and uncover the root cause of excess weight and the obstacles preventing achievement of ideal weight and health goals. We evolve by releasing our old patterns and working on mindset and habits that set us up for success. And then we empower you to use these new skills to achieve and maintain health goals. The benefits of achieving health and weight goals are that improved health markers like lower cholesterol, lower hemoglobin A1C, and so forth, less joint pain, improved mobility, more energy, less brain fog, increased confidence, decreased inflammation, improved immune system. Those that I've worked with have really benefited. One of the people that followed my summit said that they followed some of the recommendations for a week and already lost 5 pounds. Another client had actually followed recommendations and was close to needing insulin and has since lost weight. And the doctor actually lowered the dose of medication. And someone else thanked me for helping them get on track and recommitting to their goals. So this webinar came about as a result of the Winning at Weight Loss online show, where I did an interview series where I interviewed 28 experts about topics related to weight loss and wellness. At the end of the show, I sent the viewers a survey to determine what topics they would like to learn more about. And this webinar was created to address the top 3 topics from that survey. These topics include creating mini habits that set you up for success, shifting mindset to achieve lasting weight loss, and reducing inflammation to optimize health. So we'll start off with the mini habits for long-term success. And I love this quote by Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not an act, but a habit. So we can be excellent by just getting in the habit of doing things repeatedly. So a lot of what I'm going to tell you about is based on a book by Stephen Geis. He wrote a book, Mini Habits for Weight Loss, that I found very helpful to me. His emphasis was being consistent. So basically, as long as we don't stop making progress, we will eventually get to our goal. And behavior change results in biological change. So if we keep changing our behavior, it will result in internal changes as well. 1 push-up a day is what he started his exercise habit with. So he says, set a silly, stupid goal, one that you can do no matter what. The plan's flexible and it's adaptable to you, sets you up for success, and helps reroute patterns that cause weight gain. So we look at habit formation, how we implement them, and how we sustain them for success. There's motivation and willpower. These two are strong things that help us do anything, really. 2 mechanisms by which we consciously take action are motivation and willpower. Motivation is our desire to act, and willpower is the decision to act regardless of feelings. It's a bad idea to rely on motivation first. It's tough to get motivated all the time because motivation isn't reliable and it's a poor foundation for behavior change. Conflicting motivation. This comes up a lot, and I think of this as kind of good and evil, or your healthy self and your unhealthy self having a battle. So you might be motivated to eat healthy, but you're also at the same time motivated to eat the donut. So your general desire is the motivation to eat healthy, but the momentary desire is the motivation to have that donut. And then you can think about it in different ways. You want to be healthy, so you don't want to eat it, but you want something tasty, so you want to eat it. You want to fit in with your coworkers who are all eating donuts, so you want to eat it, but you don't want to gain weight, so you don't eat it. But you want to, be ready to put a bathing suit on, so you don't eat it. So you can see how it's really a coin flip as to who's going to win that battle. So momentary motivation is messy, complex, and unpredictable. It's influenced by various factors: the context, the reality, our stress level, what sort of internal dialogue we're having, what's our emotional state. But what happens to our motivation to do positive things when we're having a bad day or when we're depleted of energy? We know the odds of those things happening are less and less. So our general motivation is simple and stable. It's tied to our values and our goals and our reason for the desired lifestyle. That reason rarely changes. Overall, we won't eat those donuts because they're unhealthy and they keep us from our goal. But the problem is general motivation isn't always strong enough to defeat motivational influences. And willpower, that's our decision to act regardless of how we feel. So you can have a good reason to do something, but you don't want to do it, but you can still do it anyway. That's a better starting point for action than motivation. A good behavior change strategy must be able to succeed in the worst circumstances. So even on your worst day, you should be able to do your strategy. So we need to come up with a strategy that works when we have low willpower. You can't choose how much willpower you will have, but you can choose your goal, which determines what they call the relative willpower strength. So with weight loss, we need to come up with a new set of habits. And we know our current and past habits have created our current weight. So if we own them, we can also see where we've done things that have created our results. And to me, that was empowering, because once I saw what the habits I had and owned my weight, I was able to modify things and make changes. And I realized a different set of habits would get me a different result. That lasting change requires only one thing, and that's consistent action over time. Meaning you keep working towards your goals, be consistent, do them every day. And you can focus on dietary and movement habits. Those strategies have to mesh with your current lifestyle to help you achieve lasting change. And think of the compounding effect. As you do these little changes over time, they build up. So what would you rather? The sum of 1 penny that's doubled for 31 days, or $5 million? If someone offered you that penny and said, hey, here's a penny, you get the sum of it doubling every day for 31 days or $5 million, what would you take? Well, if you said $5 million, you would be sorry, because At day 31, it jumps from $5 million to $10 million. That's the power of exponential growth. That's how time and effort build over time for us as far as exercise, activity, and eating well. As we stick with it, we will see change over time. So think about, we all want to lose weight fast. And, I'm guilty of hopping on a diet where you can lose, 20 pounds in 30 days. The problem is that sort of weight loss usually doesn't stay off, and it can come back very quickly. Anyone that's watched The Biggest Loser on TV knows that most of those contestants, even though they've lost over 100 pounds, often sadly gain that weight back in a short period of time. So if you think about the other way, what if you only lost a pound a month? After 1 year, you would lose 12 pounds, more or less. And if you were to gain a pound a year, the difference between those two scenarios is 24 pounds, which is significant for a small little change of 1 pound from month to month. So that forward progress is often exponential, and it will compound, because as you start losing, how would you feel to be 12 pounds lighter than you are right now? How would it impact how you feel about yourself, your motivation, your energy level, and your willingness to go further? My guess is it would be much more, and you likely would end up losing more than 1 pound a month. So food and exercise decisions create a greater difference than that 1 pound gained or lost. And every meal decision we make matters, whether it's the bites, licks, tastes, or things that we put in our mouth unconsciously. Those all add up over time. So the good behaviors add up, and as do the bad behaviors. So the smallest choices can make a big difference in our lives. So how long does it take to form a habit? I always thought it was about 30 days, but studies show that I was wrong. On average, it takes about 66 days to form a habit, with a wide range of variability from 18 to 254 days. The brain is slow to change, and the speed is unpredictable. And there's a very good chance that you won't have a new habit by 30 days. That's why often these 21 or 30-day challenges don't provide lasting results, because we haven't gotten in the habit to sustain them long term. The brain adopts easy habits more quickly. For example, the habit of drinking a glass of water every morning took the study participants only 20 days to form that habit. So you don't want to be fighting yourself for 30 days. It's about coming up with a strategy where you can win that fight before it even begins. The key to losing weight is to change your brain before trying to change your body. So we'll talk about that. Change happens naturally and at a slow pace. So when you think about weight gain, we gain weight the same way people successfully lose weight. Small and seemingly insignificant lifestyle choices accumulate over time into bigger changes. So none of us start the new year and say, this is the year I'm going to gain 25 pounds. And you go on a milkshake diet and eat hamburgers and stop exercising and binge watch things on Netflix. Those sort of changes are small and insignificant, but do lead to weight gain over time. The opposite is true as far as losing weight. You can make small changes where you eat a little better, move a little more, and make changes in the other direction to lose weight and get closer to your goal. Real change doesn't happen from huge and sudden shifts in behavior, but just gradual changes over time without a whole lot of stress. So we have our bad habits, which are easy to form. They're highly rewarding, like a bag of chips, salty, crunchy, easy to eat, easy to do. Good habits are often more difficult, like exercise. The reward may be delayed, and we often make them harder to do. So one approach would be to make bad habits a little harder to do and good habits a little easier to do. And by making very small changes, we don't trigger our body's resistance or countermeasures. We're subtle, and we avoid the subconscious being resistant. Small dietary and fitness adjustments work the same way to avoid biological resistance. As they say, sneaky does it. Losing weight is a covert operation. We don't want the body to alarm and set off homeostasis alarms. We want to lose weight without triggering the body to overcorrect. The prize would be changing behavior permanently and not relying on gimmicks or quick fixes. So what are mini habits? Mini habits are forced actions that are so small that even someone that doesn't have much willpower can still complete them. Actually, you can crush these mini habits on your worst day, not just meet them, but crush them. They work well when you're low motivation, low willpower, or high motivation and high willpower situations. There's no ceiling, so you're definitely encouraged to do more than the minimum requirement. So for example, your mini habit would be to meditate for 1 minute. You may continue this for 1 hour if you wish. So definitely, if you're having a good day, you can continue on and meet and exceed your goal. It's an easy behavior that you do every day. It generally takes a minute or less to accomplish. An example would be 1 push-up a day, or eating 1 fresh vegetable per day, or stretching 1 body part, dancing to 1 song, or walking to the end of the driveway. You can do these every day, even on your worst day. But what often happens is that you end up doing more and your body doesn't resist it. By the time you put on your shoes, walk to the end of the driveway, you're already in your shoes, you're already outside, it starts feeling good to move. So you walk to the end of the block, around the block, or even for 1 mile or 2 without resistance. You find it enjoyable. Or you get in that push-up position and you do your 1 push-up and you're like, you know what, I'll knock out 10 more. So we do more than these habits and we set ourselves up for wins. These little mini habits aren't intimidating, they're easy to accomplish, we're always succeeding, we're always moving forward. And when we're always doing something, we're unstoppable and we get that forward momentum and stop sabotaging ourselves with negative thoughts. We can do these habits on the worst day of our life, and when we can show up for ourselves even on our worst day, we won't fail. So some examples here would be your morning routine. A poor habit example would be that, you have your morning rush and you wake up early. Your routine is that you grab a donut, and the reward is that it's satisfying hunger quickly. Well, if you want to lose that donut habit, you're going to have to find something that can still be gotten quickly and will satisfy that hunger quickly. So you change your routine and grab a protein shake instead. That's a healthy habit that helps break that cycle. Another habit would be the poor habit of stress eating. So you have stress and you want some ice cream. Your routine is to go eat a bowl of ice cream, and the reward is a brief state of controlled calm and happiness. A stress busting habit would be to put your walking shoes near where the ice cream is. So now when you want ice cream, you're heading towards the ice cream and you see your shoes and you put them on and go for a walk. As a result of walking, your endorphins flow and you still have the calm and happiness that you desired all along. You can let your habits destroy your health, or you can create positive habits, allowing you to live a healthy and happy life. So that completes our section on habits, and we'll segue into our second section, which is mindset and lasting weight loss. And for me, mindset was probably the most important part of my journey to lose 80 pounds. I often told people I was reprogramming my brain and rewiring my brain, and I would say I listened to podcasts daily to help me work on mindset and did a lot of belief work, thought downloads, and really got to the root cause of all my negative, what I call fat girl thinking. So helped me a lot. For years, when I was overweight, I was frustrated because I felt that I could write a diet book, I could write a weight loss book. I had lost weight over and over and over and over. I was definitely a yo-yo dieter. I knew exactly how to lose weight, how to stick to diets. But, the weight would come back. So I didn't feel like I had a knowledge deficit, but I didn't have a doing deficit. I would do it temporarily and then I would stop or go back to my old ways. So I thought this picture was great. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Same here. You can know all the information, but unless you apply it, it's kind of worthless. So let's talk about mindset. I think for permanent change in a lifestyle, it's almost impossible unless you have a healthy mindset. So we really need to work on improving our mindset and setting a solid foundation for good health. So working on the brain and then building on the brain to work on the rest of us. We need to work on our limiting beliefs that hold us back, the negative thoughts that we beat ourselves up with, the emotional baggage that we use as excuses along the way. We'll talk about mechanical and psychological change. And most diets focus on mechanical changes. Most of the times I lost weight, it was fewer calories, focusing on exercising, eating more vegetables, less sugar, and very little focus on psychological changes. Actually, I would say this is probably the first time ever that I focused on psychological changes. 80% for me was like psychological changes and maybe 20% on the mechanical. So working on mindset, working on the mental shifts, reprogramming my brain and believing in what was possible helped me. And some of you may remember Rita Black. She was on my show, and she talked about our conscious and subconscious mind, and she actually used hypnosis to help us get in touch with our subconscious mind. And if you look at the conscious mind, it makes up a small portion of our brain, only 12%. This is where our willpower and impulse control part of our brain is. And it's a good part. It's analytical, reasoning. It's the part of our brain that buys diet books and gym membership and knows what it takes to be good on a diet and has the self-control to say no to that candy bar and wants to be healthy and release weight for good and has a lot of self-discipline. So it's, all in. Unfortunately, we got our subconscious, which is 88%. It's a huge majority, and it battles the conscious mind and wants things to change, stay the same. It's digging in its heels. It makes up our impulses, desires, habits, and beliefs from our subconscious mind. It's the part of our mind that believes it's hard for us to lose weight, and it helps. We get stuck in our habits of eating in front of the TV at night or stuffing our emotions with food. So when you look at your conscious mind, think of an iceberg. The tip is just the little part you see, and that subconscious is the part below the surface. And we need to get in touch with the part below the surface to really be successful. That overweight mind has a lot of damaging thoughts. I have so much weight to lose. What is the point? I'm not an athlete. My family is overweight. It's in my genes. I like food too much. I don't like change. I have bad joints, so I can't exercise. Or I'll just gain it back, so why should I even try? So our subconscious mind is programmed with habits that allow us to have mindless, poor eating and exercise habits. And then our conscious mind beats us up over that behavior. And it's a battle. So one thing that really helped me was knowing my why. Dig deep. Why do I want to change? Why do I want to lose weight? It's not just to lose weight. No, it's to feel better in clothes. And it's not just to feel better in clothes. It's to feel more confident, to feel healthier, to get into shape, to have that lifestyle, to eat better. Why are all these things important? So I can play with my son, look in the mirror and feel good, improve my quality of life, live a long and healthy life, perhaps avoid chronic diseases like dementia and Alzheimer's, feel better shopping, feel more confident in a relationship. And emotional eating is something to definitely overcome. And that would be eating any time that you eat for reasons other than hunger. You're eating because you're stressed, sad, lonely, or bored. Often people overdrink as well. So when you use food and alcohol to feel temporarily better, the goal would be to feed your body with nourishing food and not your feelings. And you'll be happy when you feed your body. One thing that helped me a lot was a thought download. A thought download is when you just take a sheet of paper and give yourself 10 minutes and pretty much dump all the thoughts that are floating in your head. The good ones, the bad ones, the ugly ones. And then just look at them. Evaluate them, be a little curious and compassionate and wonder why you think that, and evaluate if it's true or not. Notice them all and then reframe them. You could say something like, it may be true that I'm overweight, but it's also true that I'm taking steps to improve my health. So you can gradually take each thought one by one and, correct the thoughts. So when we look at consistent people that, work out and are in good shape or top athletes, they have their moments of indulgence, but that's the exception and not the rule. When that exception happens, they get right back on track. They don't let it derail their whole weekend or their whole week. So they might have that one indulgence at dinner and then they're right back at the gym and eating healthy the next day. They don't fail their bodies. They fuel them with quality nutrients. They feel that they deserve a good body, they're willing to put in the work, and they're living a happy and healthy lifestyle. So 3 questions to think about that are all interrelated are our beliefs, our thoughts, and the words we use. What do you believe you're capable of doing? What do you think of yourself? What words do you use to describe your goals, your dreams, and your life? Our beliefs, we need to believe in our goals in order for them to come true. We need to believe that we're worth the effort to go for them in the first place, and we need to believe in ourselves. What do you believe you are capable of doing? How do you change your beliefs? For me, it was looking for success stories. I love trolling social media and finding these people that have achieved lasting weight loss, because you always hear that 98% of people gain back weight, but there are people that maintain their weight for good. I wanted to find out what those people were doing and how they kept that weight off for 14 years. And there's a lot of them. That Losing 100 Pounds with Fit and Fat with Corinne Crabtree is a great podcast, and I think I've listened to every episode. There's hundreds of them. And it really focuses on mindset and strategies for success. Surrounding yourself with people that have the same goals, that are, focusing on fitness and health. Surround yourself with inspiring messages. You can find them on Pinterest and things that just help you feel good. Don't dwell on failures from the past. Yes, I lost weight before and gained it all back, but this time is different. My future isn't based on my past. I'm focusing on what's possible now. So what little steps do you take to make today that will help you move in the direction of the future self you desire? Our thoughts are also important. I love this quote by Henry Ford: whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Wow. So where do you think your negative thoughts will take you? Do they lead you down the negative path? When you find yourself in the land of negativity, reframe those thoughts and point them in a positive direction as soon as possible. You cannot control your life circumstances, but you control your thoughts about them. For example, if you take our COVID situation right now, you can look at and think of all the negatives, but you can also think of all the positives. Like, fortunately, we have Zoom and internet, and people can still be connected. We're far more able to work from home now than we would have been 20 years ago. We have the ability to connect through the internet and stay in touch with people and slow down a little bit and reconnect with family. So there's a lot of positives as well. And think of opportunity versus obligation. Do you feel grateful for the opportunity to exercise and move your body? Or do you resent your workout and think of it as a chore or an obligation? What kind of mindset or attitude do you think you would have if you're thinking of it as a chore? Do you love the chance to nourish your body with quality food? Simply shifting your thoughts from an obligation to an opportunity will change the way you think about events. It will shift your weight loss journey from feeling deprived and restricted to feeling like you have the opportunity to have a healthy and vibrant life. And I certainly feel like I've been very fortunate to have the opportunity to change and transform my life and really improve how I feel in my skin. And our words are powerful and they make up our vocabulary, and the words we use matter. What you say can create positivity or negativity. Simply shifting from I have to I get to is a huge change. I have to feels like it's a chore or a punishment. Get to shows thankfulness or gratitude. For example, if you say I have to visit my parents, it feels like a chore. You have to go see them. But I get to see my parents shows thankfulness. Like, well, they're still alive. I get to see them. More excitement. So be careful. 1 or 2 words can make a huge difference. Replace I can't. I can't do that with I'm currently learning how to. So I can't cook. You could change it to I'm currently learning how to prepare meals. So shift those words from positive to negative, and it will help you with your success. What words are you willing to eliminate? Pay attention to those negative thoughts and change them. Mindset and exercise. We often associate exercise with strenuous exercise, discomfort, and pain. I've been guilty of going hardcore at the gym and working out and pushing it and then hardly being able to move the next day or the day after. And it doesn't make me eager to want to run back to the gym. It's almost like we're punishing ourselves and our body to get the results we want. These extreme workouts can bring results, but if the experience worsens our relationship with exercise, the results won't last. So I'd argue what's more valuable, losing 15 pounds in a month of strenuous exercise you hate, or losing no weight, but creating a relationship with exercise where you end up enjoying it more. I think the latter is true. What if you enjoyed exercise? What if you found something like yoga or Zumba or something that you just loved? What if you smiled when you thought of it? What if you did it because you wanted to? Have you ever noticed elementary kids on the playground? They're so happy and excited to move. They run out of their classroom skipping and jumping and hopping. Or what about a dog about to be taken on a walk, wagging its tail and so happy when you say the word walk or they hear the leash? What if we shift our focus from our long-term relationship with exercise rather than on using it to get a short-term result? If we can work on our relationship with exercise and food, it will drive our results for life. So there's no quick fixes. Those would be temporary. In order to be successful and to remain successful, you have to continue to grow and be willing to learn more. Living a healthy lifestyle has no deadline. Don't worry about carbs, fats, protein, and calories. Only concern yourself with the quality foods you're eating. No math necessary. There's no finish line to cross, just checkpoints along the journey. Healthy living is a continuous process that's never complete, and it would be wise to work on improving your health from now until the day you die. And I have to say, I see people of all ages, and I have a 91-year-old at the moment getting treatment, and she's in great shape. She walks several miles a day. She's in several book clubs, and I think she's just been following a lifetime of good, healthy living. So that's my goal, to be like her when I'm 91. So we're on to our third section, which is reducing inflammation and releasing weight. Honestly, before I worked with my coach, I didn't know much about inflammation and the link it had with obesity and weight. And I would say I had a lot of inflammation on board, and by correcting my inflammation, it really allowed me to release weight rather easily, in my opinion. So we'll just do a review quickly of what acute inflammation is and chronic inflammation. Acute inflammation is a good thing. It's our body's response to an injury, so it helps to keep us healthy and healed. For example, if you stub your toe or cut your finger or get a splinter, you're going to have acute inflammation happening. The four hallmarks are redness, heat, swelling, and pain. This increased blood flow to the area of injury causes an increase in white blood cells, and these white blood cells protect us against invaders and bacteria. It's our body's way of defending and repairing damaged tissue. It's a temporary response and it goes away in a few days. Chronic inflammation is caused by cell damage inside the body that leads to an inflammatory response. This chronic inflammation can last for months or years if the source is not eliminated. Chronic inflammation is also called systemic inflammation. It creates a chronic emergency state in our bodies that leads to health problems. These white blood cells start attacking healthy tissue and organs and results in increased inflammation. For me, I believe I had inflammation of my kidneys. My kidney function was not great when I started my weight loss journey, and it improved and normalized as I lost weight and reduced inflammation. So I was very happy to do that. But what can cause inflammation in our bodies? Really, anything that can cause cellular damage can trigger an inflammatory response. So we're exposed to toxins, poor nutrition, bacterial imbalances in the gut. Common causes of inflammation, other ones would be chronic stress that causes our cortisol levels to go up and increases our abdominal fat, exposure to chemicals, smoking, nutritional deficiencies like low vitamin D, low vitamin B12, and excess weight that can cause stress on our body and our joints and lead to other cellular damages. So how does inflammation affect the body? Well, it affects all of our organ systems to some extent. Our cardiovascular system ends up having a buildup of plaque in the arteries that can increase heart attack and stroke risk. Our cognitive function can be impacted by inflammatory cells in the brain that can increase our risk for Alzheimer's or dementia. And people with depression have been found to have higher inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein. Digestion can be impacted by damage to the lining of the gut, and leaky gut syndrome can happen where we have increased intestinal permeability and food and other substances leak out into our abdominal cavity, causing inflammation systemically. Cancer is thought to be due to inflammation, and also some tumor development is linked to chronic inflammation or irritation. One tumor that comes to mind is esophageal cancer due to inflammation of the esophagus. So what are inflammatory markers? Well, chronic inflammation is not always obvious because it's internal. Symptoms include excess abdominal weight, fatigue, mouth sores, skin issues, brain fog, and joint pain. Blood tests to measure inflammatory markers include C-reactive protein, which is a substance produced by the liver in response to inflammation. So how does inflammation cause weight gain? Well, our body is an amazing machine, and it has a lot of feedback loops and mechanisms that help regulate everything and keep us in a state of balance. But when these states are not working well, it can lead to problems. So inflammation is one thing that can lead to insulin resistance. Then insulin resistance causes our glucose levels to increase, which causes more insulin to be produced, which causes fatty accumulation in the liver or fatty liver in the abdomen, which further worsens insulin resistance. And then insulin resistance leads us to gain more weight. And it's a vicious cycle. The cycle can continue. So our immune system can detect a threat, and it releases cytokines. Cytokines activate our immune system. So cytokines are pro-inflammatory. They interfere with our body's insulin response. So as we are resistant to insulin, the pancreas releases more of it because the pancreas wants our blood sugar to be at a stable level. This triggers the body to store fat. People with insulin resistance tend to store fat in the abdominal area. This abdominal fat produces cytokines that increase our heart disease and risk of cancer. This is a nice little graph that you can see. You eat food, basically your body secretes insulin as a response to an increase in your blood sugar. The cells resist insulin, so you may secrete more of it. The insulin then breaks down that sugar and stores it as fat. The blood sugar drops, you start feeling hungry and tired, and then you eat more food and the cycle continues. So another thing that can happen is that inflammation interferes with the body's response to leptin. I didn't know a lot about leptin until I started researching this, and then I was pretty amazed. Leptin is a hormone that tells the brain it has had enough to eat, so it's another feedback loop. If the brain isn't getting this signal, it can lead to overeating. So resistance to leptin is thought to be a major driver of weight gain. So the hypothalamus and leptin are linked, and again, one of the ways our body is amazing. So the hypothalamus is the master regulator of metabolism. You may see the hypothalamus in work if you've paid attention to your body temperature. When you're too cold, your body will shiver. That's your hypothalamus trying to heat you up. And when you're too hot and you sweat, that's your hypothalamus trying to cool you down. Well, it also regulates body fat. So when it senses you're too thin, it sends a signal for you to eat more. And when it senses you're too fat, it signals for you to eat less. You have this area in your brain called the satiety center that controls appetite, so we eat just the right amount of food. So in a perfect world, we should all be at our perfect weight. But sometimes there's problems. So let's talk about how the hypothalamus knows how fat we are. Our fat cells release a hormone called leptin. The more fat we have on our bodies, the higher our leptin levels are in our blood. So the hypothalamus can see this leptin as our fat thermostat, and it downregulates our appetite when the leptin levels are high, and thereby decreases our hunger, which is a good thing. Then we eat less if we're paying attention to hunger. So we have our high insulin. Insulin stores our sugar as fat. The fat releases leptin, which tells our hypothalamus that we have enough food. It lowers appetite, insulin levels drop, and everything is good, and we're at a good weight. But then we have damage to leptin hypothalamus circuit, and this can cause weight gain. As early as 1840, they found an uncommonly obese woman who on autopsy was found to have a tumor near her hypothalamus. Anything that harms the hypothalamus can cause obesity, whether it be head trauma, aneurysms, or brain surgery. Once the damage occurs, that feedback loop is broken. The hypothalamus can no longer respond to rising leptin levels. So it doesn't tell the body that there's enough food on board and you keep eating. People can develop out of control appetites. I actually had a colleague I worked with, she had a son who was high school age, and he was running cross country, fit, thin, looked like a runner. Well, he ended up having a problem with his brain and an injury that caused damage near the hypothalamus and the satiety center. So as you could imagine, with the satiety center out of whack, he never felt full and he was always eating. They had to lock the cabinets at night, or he would just eat all their food. He went from being a kid that barely weighed 100 pounds to over 300 pounds. So amazing that that one section of the brain could lead to this. So leptin resistance is thought to cause obesity. Overweight people produce excess leptin. The hypothalamus is resistant to its effects, and the natural feedback loop is broken, so people keep eating. The solution would be to reverse leptin resistance. So this just shows you how the feedback loop is broken. So you have your high insulin levels that decrease and store the sugar as fat. The fat releases the leptin, but the leptin doesn't make it to the hypothalamus, so therefore the appetite drive is never lowered. It stays fired up. So to reverse leptin resistance and lower inflammation, there's several things we can do. One would be to skip processed food and added sugar, to make sure we're sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night. Try not to eat after 8 p.m. because that's associated with increased leptin levels. Try to lower your stress level. Work on increasing your omega-3 intake through wild-caught fish. Incorporate anti-inflammatory produce and fats. And incorporate gut-friendly foods like fermented foods and yogurts. Reducing inflammation in the body can be achieved by eating a diet full of anti-inflammatory foods, reducing the intake of inflammatory and acidic foods such as processed food, refried foods, refined carbohydrates, and sugar, working to restore gut health and reversing leaky gut, getting regular exercise, plenty of sleep, choosing skin products that are free of phthalates, choose food and water bottles that are BPA free, to limit secondhand smoke and smoking, and to manage stress. So there's a thing called the dietary inflammatory index. It's based on what people's C-reactive proteins were after eating certain foods. So they were able to determine pro-inflammatory foods that led to higher scores and anti-inflammatory foods that led to lower scores. So as you can imagine, the inflammatory foods were often seen in processed foods and animal products. Foods that had a lot of saturated fats, trans fats, vegetable oils, lots of sugar, cholesterol. So mainly the standard American diet falls into that category of inflammatory food. Not a surprise that it also seems to be linked to the obesity epidemic in this country. Anti-inflammatory foods, however, are whole plant foods, fiber, phytonutrients. A lot of these are found in the Mediterranean diet. Higher scores are linked to increased risk of heart disease and decreased kidney, liver, and lung function. Like I said, at the start of my weight loss journey, my kidney function wasn't great, and it did improve in time. So I think by lowering inflammation, I was able to improve my organs. Inflammatory diets are also linked to cellular aging. In the elderly, they're found to be linked to impaired memory and increased frailty, and they're associated with worse mental health, such as increased depression, anxiety, and impaired well-being. Anti-inflammatory diets are linked to a longer lifespan. Obesity and inflammation. Inflammatory diets are associated with obesity, especially abdominal obesity. Diets low in fruits and veggies and high in meat and junk food lead to weight gain. Fatty tissue secretes inflammatory chemicals. Belly biopsy of obese individuals was found to be swarming with macrophages. Macrophages are inflammatory cells. They get stuck and fuse into giant cells, a hallmark of chronic inflammation. Inflammatory compounds spill out into the general circulation. Obesity leads to systemic inflammation, including the brain. These are foods that are good to eat. This was taken from the Harvard Health Newsletter. Chronic inflammation has been linked to cancer, heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, depression, and Alzheimer's. So by increasing our intake of tomatoes, fruits such as strawberries, blueberries, cherries, nuts like almonds, walnuts, pistachio, and macadamia nuts, olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, these are all good oils. Leafy greens and fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, tuna, and sardines. Those are all very good for you. And avoiding inflammation foods like fried foods, soda, refined carbs, lard, and processed meat are all helpful. So, quick review of what we've covered. We've covered a lot in the last little bit, but we have talked about the benefits of achieving a healthy weight. Improved health, less joint pain, less brain fog, more energy, more confidence. We've talked about improving our wellness and lowering our cancer risk, increasing our confidence, improving our body image, taking control over our diet and lifestyle. We talked about how many habits can lead to big changes and help set us up for success. We talked about how sticking with things and exponential growth can make impact over time. We've talked about how important mindset is and working on our limiting beliefs, negative thoughts, and emotional baggage. We talked about our conscious and subconscious mind and how we need to tap into what's hidden below the surface in order to achieve success. We've talked about getting in touch with our thoughts, beliefs, and words that we use that describe our goals and dreams in our lives. We've talked about how inflammation can cause weight gain by causing insulin and leptin resistance, and how it's a vicious cycle that's hard to break out of. We've talked about ways to reverse leptin resistance and improve our gut health by increasing our intake of anti-inflammatory foods. So I ask you, was our time together thus far enjoyable to you? Have you found it valuable? Have you come up with some ideas you already are excited about implementing in your life? Is it fair to say that using these techniques that we talked about would give you an advantage towards reaching your goal? Well, you have two choices. You can do it on your own. You could take everything we covered here today, and I'm sure with time and effort, you could put it into action on your own and get results that you previously thought were not possible. And if that were your only option, it would be a worthy ideal to pursue. And I wish you all the luck in the world. The other option would be for us to do it together. We have a chance to go deeper than we can in a 1-hour webinar. What if I played an active role in your results? What if I took a responsibility in your success and had an obligation to your outcome? What if I shared shortcuts and resources that I used on my weight loss journey to help you get the results you want, desire, and frankly deserve? How would that make things different? Do you think in that situation I could empower you, keep you accountable, and stack the deck in your favor to make your success all but inevitable? If I had such an option for you, would you love to hear more about it and what it could do for you? Well, I have an opportunity for you. I'm excited to help as many people live their best life possible. My day job is filled with helping people that have cancer, and my goal would be to prevent cancer and keep people well and avoid chemo in the first place. So I'm now coaching others to help them achieve their goals. You can schedule a free call with me to discuss your goals and see how I can help you reach them. You can use my scheduling link to schedule a time that works for you. You can go to winningatweightloss.as.me/strategy call. to schedule a time. Take this opportunity for you. We upgrade our phones, our cars, and our homes frequently. Now is the time to upgrade the most important thing, you. Make yourself a priority. Get help. You could certainly do it alone, but I know I never had success when I did it alone. I fully believe that having the accountability and a coach to nudge me along for the 6 months that I was there longer, for the probably 8 months I had her to really help me link in those habits till they were solid, is one of the things that has led to my success so far. So use the link to schedule a time that works for you. The website again is https://winningatweightloss.as.me/strategy call. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this webinar.